are again for a brand new The Sit Down with Big Vito and Company. And I know Colin's normally on with you guys. He's on his honeymoon. So Virtue, myself, I am back with Dr. Jargo, Mr. J, and of course, the former WCW Hardcore Champion, Big Vito LaGrasso. Gentlemen, what's up?
What's going on, guys?
It's going. Vito, what's up?
Mr. Jargo, go ahead. Get it off your chest. Start the show up hot, brother.
If you are a construction worker in the state of Illinois or the state of Indiana, you can jump off the I-465 bridge and fall to your puddling death. I was just stuck in traffic for an hour and a half after being in a car for like 7 goddamn hours in my town. It took me like an hour and a half to get home once I get to Indianapolis. It's absolutely ridiculous. Nobody can get anywhere. It's like an AEW booking meeting downtown. It's absurd.
Wow, it's heavy.
It gets pretty crappy here in Ohio too, you know.
And we didn't even talk about Aaron Riff yet.
Right?
Oh.
Right?
Hey, you know, there's no listen. I figured this one out.
Yeah.
He canceled the review tonight. That's why we did it Tuesday, and Jargo was on. And I was trying to figure out what could Aaron Rift be doing on a Thursday night where he couldn't do the review, and it dawned on me. Him and Wifey are probably going to the premiere of the Halloween Ends movie.
No!
That's what I think. I honestly think that they're going to the movies tonight. But speculation.
What a waste of time. He could have sat at home and watched it on the cock.
That's what we're doing tomorrow, my dad and I. Yep.
Hold on, let me say, I love my wife, guys. She's running the whole effing show.
So that's what I think happened.
All right, here we go, guys. Here we go. It is the sit down where Big Vito feeds the topics of the day, and we got the in-house Miss Noel with the wow. All right, here we go, guys. Now, guys, hot topics, and controversy in football. Okay, Tom Brady, head injuries. Special calls for special people. Dak Prescott, we covered it this week. Guys, what do you think about the education of concussions up to this point in professional sports?
I mean, they're getting better, but it's not perfect. I mean, look at the whole Tua thing, right? He probably shouldn't have been playing. Now, did I read this correctly? Is he going to be cleared to practice soon already that quick? Like, how sure are they that this guy's not effed up? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. Do you cost them their livelihood to keep them safe? Hell yeah, you do. Or do the owners get greedy because they're paying these guys so much money and there's loopholes to keep them on the field? That I don't know, man. I'm indifferent right now. I feel like they've made a lot, strides, but it's definitely not perfect.
Mr. Jargo.
I think they've made strides, but they've gone too far inside of them. Like once you start hurting the integrity of the game because you're trying to protect one position over the other 20 positions, 21 positions on the field, that I have a problem. Like if you're going to enforce it, then enforce it, but let's not just make it one-sided towards quarterback. Like it feels like there's one set of rules if you're hitting a quarterback, one set of rules if you're hitting a wide receiver, another set of rules if you're hitting legitimately anybody else, including protesters that run onto the field. Shout out to Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, man. Vito, more than the whole NFL thing with the roughing the passer calls and, concussions still happening and having the players play too soon, whatever. What's up with these people going out on the field? Now, granted, the protester at the Rams Stadium was a protester. I think once you're there, if security's chasing you down, what would have happened, Jargo, if security caught that streaker with the pink smoke bomb? They would have tackled him, right? So a player in pads did it instead because the security guys couldn't catch him. Now they're pressing charges against the player. And I'm not even talking about the other incident yet, which is pissing me off.
Well, I mean, I think any judge that is going to invoke any kind of charges against Bobby Wagner, it needs to be taken out of office, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, as soon as you enter onto the field of play and you start running away from security guards, you're fair game as far as I'm concerned.
It's the way it's done in wrestling. You enter the ring, you are fair game.
You're done.
Now, Dr. Amalu, who's known for the concussion movie Concussion with Will Smith, he came on and said, if this guy plays again, here's a possibility he can kill himself. Now,
Yeah.
with a world-renowned doctor coming out and saying this to you as a quarterback, how do you take his advice?
I think you roll with the punches, man. I mean, because legitimately, like, who is the healthiest quarterback in the NFL, right? I mean, who's been around for a very, very long time? We got all these rookie quarterbacks. I mean, let's just take Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been somewhat of an Iron Man over the course of his career. One bad hit and he's dead. That's football, right? Like, I mean, you can't go out onto the field of play with that in your mind. It will affect your play. If you're going to roll the dice, you roll the dice every time you enter onto the field, whether you've had a concussion in the last week, if you've had one in the last year, or if you've never had one. One hit is really all that it takes. One major head trauma. And we could see an episode kind of like we saw when Tua got his second concussion, where he goes into a seizure on the field.
And the player is never going to say no. They're always going to want to play, especially a quarterback who plays for stats, who plays for big contract money.
All right.
I was going to say, plays for bonuses. Let's be honest. He ain't playing for stats. He's playing for the stats to get him that bonus.
That's exactly.
Now, let's look at the quarterbacks, the great quarterbacks of, I'll pick the 70s, 80s compared to today's quarterbacks. How much tougher are they than today's quarterback? Now, you're talking Ken Stabler. You're talking Terry Bradshaw, Joe Namath, Troy Aikman, Steve Young,
Joe Montana,
Joe Montana of all people, right? One hit, and that was it.
But you say, Vito, like how far we have come and what we have learned and what we understand now about concussions versus what we understood then. I don't know as though the players are necessarily tougher or weaker. It's just we have more knowledge about what's going on right now. How many concussions do you really think that Terry Bradshaw had over the course of his career? How many was he diagnosed with? It's a very, very different number, right? Like if we would have known then what we know now, it's very possible that, you know, all those infamous plays that Terry Bradshaw pulled off, that none of them happened because he's not even on the field.
Okay, good point. The second incident that happened was a football player, an NFL star, pushed one of the reporters, and now he's being brought up on charges. Guys, what is your take on that?
Should have stayed in Green Bay and this crap wouldn't have happened. That's my take on it. Go Pack, go.
All right. Absolute bullshit. So first of all, yes, him and Renfro ran into each other. They lost the game in Kansas City. He threw his helmet down. He was mad leaving the field. Okay. I've been studying every little aspect of this whole thing since Monday.
Okay.
At halftime, the Kansas City fans were throwing shit towards the Raiders in that tunnel as they were going through, right? That's documented. That happened.
Right.
On top of the frustrations, he's going back, fresh off of a competitive football game, helmet still on. We don't know, peripheral vision cut short to normal without a helmet. There's video evidence, yes, he pushed him. The guy walked right in front of him with equipment, and it happened so quick. What are you going to do in that situation when things were getting thrown earlier in the night? You're coming off, you instantly are pushing whatever you see come in front of you instantly. The fact that he didn't stop and apologize, he just kept walking is why people are pissed off. Misdemeanor, that guy pressing charges that he's hurt, F him. F that photographer. I hope he gets hit by a bus.
Okay. Jargo.
I agree 100%. And if this wouldn't have happened in Green Bay, the reporter would have apologized to Davante Adams, not the other way around.
All right. Now, let's take this incident and let's go into basketball with the big feud that happened with Draymond Green and Poole. Now, Draymond Green sucker punched this kid. Okay. Now, here's a very good scenario. Does the kid have the right to press charges against Draymond Green and the Warriors for an unsafe work environment? Jargo.
Absolutely. He has that right. And the NBA absolutely has the right to blackball him after he does.
Wow.
I mean, because let's be honest, that's what would happen, right? Who'd want to play with that kid if you go and file charges against Draymond Green?
Yeah. What happened to, like, I get it. Like, Draymond Green, dick move, punched him. We don't know what was said, why it all happened and escalated. But, like, let's be honest. Like, that's playground stuff, right? And usually what happens, They get back up and they continue playing. So I'm interested. I'm now compelled to watch the Warriors and see how these two, dude, if they end up like balling and giving each other chest bumps, and they're going to like make everybody look stupid. Like, hey, we handled this in house. To me, must see TV.
I mean, let's flip it around. Let's talk about the Golden State Warriors head coach, Steve Kerr. I remember an incident very, very similar to this that happened in him in what, 97, I want to say? Michael Jordan punched him out during practice. Is Steve Kerr going to turn around and file charges against Michael Jordan? Hell no. You suck it up. You get back out there with your teammates. You earn your respect and you play ball. That's the way this is going to go.
Now, this wasn't a stabbing or a shooting thing like at a nightclub, or it was a punch, like a heated fight, which men do. Like, I don't get it, man. Like, blown overboard, because we're in the sensitivity era now.
All right. Now, with that said, what happens at the Laker world if Patrick Beverley and Westbrook come to blows? Who's at fault? They already knew these guys don't like each other.
Patrick Beverley is at fault.
Why is he at fault?
He's an instigator for sure.
Well, number one, he's a well-known instigator. And number two, Russell Westbrook is a star who's getting paid tens of millions of dollars. Pat Bev, even if Russell Westbrook comes out and talks about how, you know what, listen, Pat Bev, Vito made your old lady his new gumad. That's what's up. And Pat Bev hauls off and hits him. Pat Bev's fault.
Did you see that video from a preseason game where the Lakers team huddled and Westbrook wasn't even any part of that? It was like isolated from the rest of the team, like before the game started. Like, that's what's happening.
Westbrook was huddled with his entire team.
Him.
Yep.
Yeah. Vito. What do you think, man? Westbrook. It's not gonna. I mean, it already hasn't worked out. What makes us think that it will work out? Is LeBron James this great of a teammate? He's gonna be able to make this work.
I'm gonna say this, guys. Okay. This guy has been under so much scrutiny over the past few years because he doesn't win. Last year, he was with the Lakers. He took the blame for a shitty team. All right. Now, all summer long, the trade rumors. If you don't think they got to him, you are mistaken. Every day he's in the news. Every day they say, where is he going to be? What's going to be with his future? Now, he's got to go back to the team that didn't want him, who openly was trying to trade him. How does he fit in there?
I don't think he does. I think that he ends up getting traded to Indiana. I really do. I think that's what's going to end up happening.
I think he'll get traded too. I mean, if he doesn't, and it just seems like he's playing okay, even as a role, like him as a role player, he's a star. He wants to be a star, a triple-double guy. But if it somehow does work out, which is at the low end of the spectrum, percentage-wise, LeBron James, well, then you got to give him kudos.
Guys, you want to know where I see him going?
The Knicks.
I know exactly.
I think he's going to go to the Knicks because the Knicks need a number 2 guard. No. Just think about this. They got Brunson, right? They still don't, and they could put Barrett at the small forward. They still don't have that explosive 2 guard.
How about this, Vito? I think we both can win in this situation, right? So the Halliburton and Miles Davis trade both go down, right? Westbrook goes to Indiana. Indiana releases him immediately. He never puts on an Indiana Pacers uniform, and the Knicks can sign him on the cheap.
If I was the Knicks, because the Knicks were just talking about they don't have the firepower to compete. If they put Westbrook on that team without giving up any pieces,
they still don't have the firepower to compete. I think they are a worse team with Russell Westbrook on it than they are without him.
You can't say that because he brought the Wizards to the playoffs by himself.
Are the Knicks not a playoff team without Russell Westbrook?
Not last year.
No, I'm talking this year. I mean, we went through it the other day. Like we're figuring it up there like a 6 seed. They may maybe move up to what, a 5 with Russell Westbrook. I don't think it's worth the investment.
All right, let's go to baseball and Mr. Virtue, your Guardians, not the Guardians, the Cleveland Indians. Cleveland. What are you thinking, and how do they look?
Well, it's rained out today. I don't know. I think they're going to win tomorrow. I think they're going to win the second game. I think Bieber is going to pitch a gem, and they might not only need the 1 or 2 runs because right now that seems like all they're capable of doing. But it's weird, during the regular season they weren't a power team at all, but they were a scrappy team. As soon as the playoff hits and that pressure comes on, it's even harder to hit the baseball. But I'm not sold on anything outside of Garrett Cole from the Yankees starting rotation and bullpen. So I think that this still could be a series. Obviously, they can't go down 2-0. Like that, it's over if they go down 2-0. But Bieber's pitching tomorrow. And the day off, I think today's game being rained out, I think that's going to help the Guardians.
Mr. Jago.
I'll take the Yankees 6-1 to win tomorrow.
Okay. I take 2-1 Guardians.
I mean, if Cleveland's going to get a game, that's the kind of game they're going to get. They're not going to outslug the, right? Like a 2-1, 1-0, 3-2. If you start getting into like that 4-run territory, Cleveland's not winning.
All right. Now, we all talked about the Mets, both of us. All three of us talked about the Mets and their failures. And I said this past week, I thought the Mets had the better chance of beating the Dodgers than the Padres do. But then the Padres come up, and all of a sudden they're playing playoff baseball. Guys, where do you see the Padres going this year?
I see them going all the way back to San Diego after the Dodgers beat them.
I agree. I don't know. They have like what's his name suspended, and they're stacked still, but that team just seems like it's pieces and parts, and that they don't have that chemistry that the Dodgers have been able to build the last few years. That's the difference when it comes this time of year, October baseball.
But watch out for San Diego next year. I think
San Diego's
going to have a really good team going into next season.
Remember the Dodgers when they got assembled, and they struggled for a while and like choked in the playoffs, and then boom, it just clicked.
Yep.
San Diego will probably be the same way. It'll take some time.
They could use a good pitcher or two. I hear DeGrom's going to be available.
Now, that's another thing I want to talk about. Free agents. Do the Mets sign DeGrom? I am against it. And I say let him go because the money we're going to pay him for half a season, I don't want to invest in it. But for that money they're going to save, they could sign 3 or 4 of their own players and possibly get a major superstar. Now, Virtue, you've been looking at the Mets, and so is Mr. Jago. We're all invested in this. How do you see the Mets with their free agency? Do they sign Aaron Judge and shock the baseball world and throw $500 million, or do they piece it together?
So the Mets will spend money. They will throw everything they can to keep DeGrom. They're going to spend money because that's what they do now. Judge is either going to stay a Yankee or he's going to go to San Francisco because that's where he's from. Like that, to me, if he lands anywhere else, I would be shocked. I think DeGrom stays with the Mets because the Mets will overpay him. The Mets are now the New York Yankees in terms of payroll.
I think Vito is going to take up drinking because I think DeGrom is going to stay in New York, but he's going to move to the Bronx.
There you go.
I had a funny feeling. They had a big piece in the New York Post about DeGrom going to the Yankees.
DeGrom, Cole.
Yeah, I mean, Scherzer, DeGrom, Cole. DeGrom.
Dude, I'm telling you, though, DeGrom and Scherzer are at the points in their careers now, they're going to be hurt a lot. Once it starts, remember Kershaw hit that thing, and they're never the same.
And Kershaw's a number 4 starter with the Dodgers.
And that's not going to be worth that money. Go young. Look what the Guardians do. The pitching, they've always had really good pitching, and it's always younger. And then they go on with, they move on from them when the contracts come up, and they get new young pitchers again through the farm system. That's how you do it in baseball.
All right, let's switch our attention to wrestling. Seems that there are people begging for some wrestling questions and wrestling talk. Guys, Orange Cassidy won his first title last night.
Hey, it was a North Atlantic, mid-Subterranean,
Exactly.
Lost City of Atlantis championship. Why not?
Now,
right?
Does it make him more prominent in the wrestling world or just a prominent figure in a cult wrestling organization like the AEW?
Jargo?
I don't think it does anything for him. Because if I remember correctly, Orange Cassidy's been getting way more TV time than Pac, and Pac's been running around with 2 belts. So, I mean, I guess the positive is the new prop that Tony Khan paid for can be featured on TV more often. But I don't think it does anything for Orange Cassidy's stock going up or down. I mean, the All-Atlantic, Subterranean, Mediterranean, Pacific Championship of the world To me, is actually below the Ring of Honor TV championship. And that guy doesn't even defend the title. He's in a tag team with Wardlow.
Wow.
Like when I see Orange Cassidy and his little best friends, like go for the trios title, be in a tag team, be the mascot. But you like him going over Pac, whatever. I don't buy it. The Superman punch, that's just catering to those diehard AEW fans. Like, ugh, sorry.
I think Orange Cassidy needs an evolution of character far more than he needed a pretend fake fighting champion.
Now, guys, I saw him use the super punch, same finish as Roman Reigns, but he hit him 3 or 4 times before he finished him.
That sounds about right. Right? Like, don't you think that Orange Cassidy would have to hit you 4 times to equal one of Roman Reigns's? Like, that seems legit to me.
Not after Darby Allin did a dump on Billy Gunn for a 3 count. That made me sick to my stomach. I'm still having nightmares over it. But when you talk about guys who are basically the same size, Pac has a better body, but
wait. Height-wise, Vito, I'm following you. These guys are not the same size, though.
Same weight category, different proportion of how the body's sculpted. That's why I said.
What do you think, Jargo? I think Pac's got 30 pounds on Cassidy because muscle weighs, right? Muscle weighs, doesn't it?
I think you're exactly right, Virtue. I'm trying to.
Why he's looking that up, Vito? Though I'm interested to hear why you say.
You're exactly right. Orange Cassidy is listed at 161 pounds. Pac is listed at 194 pounds. So he has 30 pounds on Orange Cassidy.
Wow.
He's just thick, Vito. Like,
well,
I know he's a short guy, but
he's got a good body. I give him. He's got a great body. I like him, and we actually wrestled together overseas. I got no beefs with him. Like, I just made an observation.
Are you on the Orange Cassidy bandwagon though? Like, for any particular reason? Because he's over with those fans.
Nah, I just think it's a character gimmick that people buy into, and it's a cult following, just like ECW. And you're either gonna like it or you don't. And if you buy it,
Virtue Hornswoggle was over with the fans too. I wouldn't put a championship on it.
That's true.
Wow. Now, guys, we're still getting over all the fighting in AEW. Guys, what's your latest? I know you guys have all your secret go-to people, and you got all your ins and outs. What's the latest scoop on all the fighting in AEW?
As far as I know,
it's work, Virtue. What do you think?
Man. I mean, it subsided with all those people gone, and of course, the whole Sammy Guevara stuff happened with Andrade, but you got Jericho becoming a locker room leader, and Moxley with this new contract now is going to be a mentor. There's no way this locker room can be in turmoil anymore, Vito. You got those veterans; they're going to be undertaking that locker room. Like, no pun intended there, but.
What about that kid, Danhausen? I mean, he's a character. Do you guys like him or you don't like him?
I love Danhausen, but I mean, let's be honest about what Danhausen is, right? Like, he is a comedy character who is playing the part of Andy Kaufman as a demon.
Yeah.
Like, he's Andy Kaufman. There's nothing more to Danhausen. He's Andy Kaufman. He's comic relief. Him and Orange Cassidy could go out and make some hilarious vignettes. But I mean, inside the ring, Virtue, have you seen anything out of Danhausen that makes you go, yeah, I need more Danhausen on my TV outside of your curse?
No, he's like the dark. You got Orange Cassidy's like the, fun-loving mascot, and then you got the spooky, the Munsters, the Addams Family type kookiness in Danhausen comedy, though. That's all it is. It's comedy.
My personal favorite thing is that Tony Khan thinks his last name is Hausen and his first name is Dan. He says it Dan Hausen, which is just absolutely hilarious to me. Like, that makes the whole gimmick.
Now, guys, I'm gonna be a matchmaker here, and a match I'd like to see in AEW is Pac versus Taz's son. That's a match of two buzzsaws, two guys who are the same height, a little bit of weight difference, but same concept of wrestling. What do you guys think
I
about?
mean, Vito, I would buy into that more than the Orange Cassidy Pac thing. So, like, why not? Like that, I'm okay with because at least Hook is presenting himself as a fighter, right? Like legit, he's not doing that goofy stuff. So, I would give that a chance at least.
I think a program between them would be awesome. Jago, what do you think about that booking matchup?
I mean, I'm down for it. Mostly because Hook finds himself in a very, very strange position because he's like a lower card guy, but he's undefeated and they want to keep him undefeated. So they're just putting him against guys that you've never heard of so that they can keep him lower on the card, but keep him undefeated. Like, I'm ready for Hook to start elevating up the card and start wrestling some real competition. Otherwise, I think people are going to get off of that train real quick.
And what happens to champions after they lose a match? They go on a losing streak and they start putting people over. That would be the perfect scenario for Hook to get over and become legitimate to have a series against Pac. And I'm talking 2 out of 3 falls.
With it?
Build him. Give
All
him.
right.
I mean, that Pac's better than who he's been wrestling. So
Pac can make him look great. That's for sure.
Now, let's go over to the WWE. We have a lot of people coming back. And nobody's leaving, which is a good thing. Guys, Braun Strowman, I read, is almost on the way out again. Did you guys hear that rumor?
I mean, I haven't really heard or seen much from him. So since that first couple of weeks, what am I missing?
Seems that he pissed somebody off already, and he might be on his way out.
Is he creating his own narrative?
I don't know, my brother, but I'm telling you, you just get back to making 500 grand plus, which is probably what he's making, and you're going to shit the bed when you get there?
Now we might have to wait because that could be true, but with Wyatt back, they could also be getting the Wyatt pieces together too for this. What if Bray's going to have this faction? We don't. I mean, Rowan was. I don't know if he was working with anybody with a contract, but the reason why I could see that band getting back together is kind of because Triple H is there, and this kind of like a tribute to Luke Harper, like their way to say, hey, man, remember we ran, we're going to do this for you. I don't know.
I always said for years that team should get together again. Mr. Jago always said, I've said it to you, I said it to Mr. Jago. That is the one team I wish that would get together, add a couple of spicy pieces, Sister Abigail coming to life. We got something.
I think the match at WrestleMania is Omos versus Braun Strowman. And we have between now and WrestleMania to figure out which guy we're putting over and which one we're releasing.
I mean,
that's the way I feel about it.
What do you think about the Good Brothers being back at the WWE beside AJ Styles?
I mean, it's so AJ Styles has his buddies to go up against the Judgment Day. Think about it. Triple H, a couple of his guys there, that's what happens, dude. That's what Triple H is like. He wants that adoration from the indie fans. And so he's like catering to them hardcore right now.
Okay.
As long as they actually let them be the Good Brothers and not what Vince McMahon did to them and just make them AJ Stooges, then I'm intrigued. If they just end up AJ Stooges again, I mean, if I'm New Japan, I'm not even sure I take the never open weight championship off of Carl. I think I just let him roll with it.
All right. Last subject on our card is The Rock came up and he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. Guys, your prediction for WrestleMania will leave the wrestling fans here and all of the people for Men of Business or the Sit Down and
Both.
Getting Color. Now, I named all 3 because everybody wants to know. Guys, does The Rock appear at WrestleMania? Mr. Jago, go ahead and lead us off.
Nope.
Doesn't show.
Nope. Absolutely. It's done, contracted, signed. We're going to actually see him on WWE TV before then. They're going full on. And the reason why, doesn't matter if he's a big Hollywood star. Doesn't matter what this insurance company of Rock's is. He's made sure, speculation, that this is going to work out for the bloodline, for Cuz. He's putting him over. The Rock's pissed that he stood in Philadelphia after Royal Rumble and he couldn't get Roman over by putting his arm in the air because the timing was bad. The way Vince McMahon presented Roman was bad. This is the opportunity to get everybody to say,
All
It's
right.
happening. I'm calling it, Jargo.
I think it's Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, and Roman eats the pin at WrestleMania.
No.
I'll even disagree with that.
It was
No.
right, Vito. I'm just saying that's what I think they're gonna do.
Now, if the match with The Rock happens, I think Roman goes over, and I can still see Roman dropping the titles to Cody.
No,
We'll see.
if Cody ever does it, he has to have 50 Money in the Banks. Okay. And on the 50th try, he gets in.
Oh,
We're going to end the show on that.
Okay.
Okay. We got The Rock coming. We got The Rock going. I'm in the middle. I'm sitting here waiting. This has been the sit down. Mr. Jargo, Mr. Virgil, it's always a pleasure to sit with you boys and be part of the team. I want to have everybody subscribe. I thank you very much. Mr. Virtue, close the show. Get Mr. Jargo in. You can do my stuff. It's all yours.
Jargo, I know you're not big about plugging anything. Yes or no?
Social media at NotJargo, MichaelJargo.com.
There you go. Vito's over on Twitter at the Big Vito brand. And I am also over there, if you dare, at NoDQ_Virtue. But this has been the Sit Down with Big Vito. The Sit Down. We also do Men of Business and Getting Color. It's all right here on the Big Vito brand. For Mr. J, Dr. Jargo, and for Big Vito Lagrasso, I am Virtue. We will see you again next time. Oh, shout out to Colin the Cleaver Andrew as well. He's on his honeymoon. We'll see him soon.
The Shrock says, I'm not coming to WrestleMania, brother.
And of course, where is Aaron Riff tonight?
Date night.
tuned.
Catch the Big Vito brand on Twitch every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern.